Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to hike to Murray Hill, which is right there. It looks like a peak. People call it Murry Peak. The actual name on the topographic map is Murray Hill. It's here in the Palm Springs area in Southern California. It's about a 7-mile out and back, about 2,000 feet of climbing, and beautiful, beautiful destination. Now, there's a few ways you can start the hike. There's, obviously a whole network of trails in Palm Springs that you can kind of come up here on. I'm going to show you the way up the Boger Trail, which is a newer trail. I like it because the trailhead parking is easier. There's a parking lot there, and it's a beautiful hike that gives you these panoramic views as you climb up and when you get up here. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. I will talk about the parking on the guide on HikingGuy.com. I'm not going to bore you in this video. Instead, I'm going to show you how to get up to this beautiful spot here. There's actually picnic benches up there, and when you get to the top, you get beautiful panoramic views, obviously into Palm Springs, but also San Gorgonio up there in the clouds. Then up here, San Jacinto, also in the clouds. So again, go to HikingGuy.com where I have the parking info and the sort of details on getting here and all of the unfun stuff. But in the meanwhile, let me show you how to hike up to this very cool spot. So like I mentioned before, one of the reasons why I like this hike is because there's a decent parking area here. You can see the trail board here at the Frank Boger Trail. And it's real easy to know where to start. And there's not a lot of what they call goat trails, just kind of crisscrossing trails to find the start of the hike. But we're just going to go on here and start going uphill. And it's a pretty gradual uphill on this wide track here as we go up. There is a couple little side trails off to the left to a little viewpoint. You can see somebody marked it with a cairn. But we're going to keep going straight here, and you can see the trail is starting to level off, and it's actually going to go downhill for a bit. Here you can see the trail going downhill over there. Now, of course, we've got to come back up this on the way back, but it is a forgiving trail in terms of having places where you can take a break and do a lot of flats here. Now, at this point, the trail is washed out up ahead, and there's this little detour. We're going to use a little detour to kind of go up the wash a little bit, then come back out on the trail. And you can see that people made a pretty cool little arrow to tell people not to forget to not walk into the hole in front of them. As we go up here, you can see the whole San Jacinto region. There's a side trail over to the left, but we're going to go straight until we get to this point where you'll see the water tanks down to the left. We're going to go on the small trail up here to the right, and we're going to start climbing as we go up. And once you start going up here, you're going to see a sign for the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto Mountains National Monuments, which we are entering. We're going to continue to head uphill here, up above the water towers. And it's pretty steep. You saw the downhill section before, and there are flat sections. What that means is you basically have to make the 2,000 feet or so of climbing up in there's a couple shorter, very steep sections. You can see here there are switchbacks at places. It's still steep even with the switchbacks, and it's doable. I'd call this a moderate hike. It's not a big mountain climb, but it is hard. It's probably the top end of a moderate. Eventually you're going to come up to the top of that climb, and there's a flat section right here. You can see some people jumping around up there. That's a viewpoint that we're going to go. That's not actually Murray Hill. Don't get too excited. But we're going to go up. There's San Jacinto over there. We're going to go up straight here, but it is relatively flat once you come up that last hill. And then you're going to get to the first major intersection here. We're going to make the right. Now, if you came up here from a different trailhead, this is probably where you're going to end up. We're going to come up to. We're going to go up here on the Wild Horse Trail, and we have another steep section here. You can see there's a trail sign there telling you the trailheads, which is kind of weird. But we're going to go up the steep section. You can see how steep it is. It does help to have trekking poles if you have them. And yeah, just take your time, turn around. You're going to get some views into the Coachella Valley from here as you go up this steep section. Now it does level out, and you have a flat point here before we get to the viewpoint up ahead, which was the one I pointed out earlier. And eventually when you get to the top here, this viewpoint, you're going to get some pretty good panoramic views. It's a good place to kind of catch your breath after you just did the bulk of the climbing. And I'd say probably the bulk of the climbing is done. There definitely is more climbing as you go. That was the canyon where you started, and there is all Coachella Valley. You can see San Gorgonio from here, and everything. So once you're done at the viewpoint, just continue straight here. There's a little bit of a downhill, and you'll be able to see the trail kind of ahead of you winding around. We're going to take the trail all the way along this ridge. Now this is probably one of my favorite parts here. This whole hike is really beautiful. It's kind of hard to explain if you're not picking it up from the images, but from here you look south into the Santa Rosas, into the desert and the mountains. It's really a spectacular hike, and the trail brings you on a lot of really cool sort of viewing areas. Now at this point there's a junction. We're going to go left on the Clara Burgess Trail. You can see I love this great big huge sign in the middle of nowhere letting you know what the trail is. Very cool. And we're going to continue on the flat here for a little while, and eventually it's going to start to climb up a little bit. And it's steep, it's tough, but it's not quite as tough as the beginning steeper sections here. But you will probably be sweating. I'll give you some tips on when to do this on the article on Hiking Guy, but obviously in the middle of the summer it's not the time to do this. But eventually you'll gain the saddle here, and that's Murry Peak right there. You'll see the trail winding up, and that's where we're going to go. That's the end of the hike. And this is another very cool section here as you kind of go along the spine and go downhill. And you're basically going to go down there and then just climb up to the top. There's one little last stretch over here up to the top. And when you start going up, when you get towards the top, you're going to see the picnic benches. And this is the summit area here. Now there's three picnic benches. Not sure how they got up here. I don't know if they got up here on horseback or helicopter. If you know, leave me a comment on YouTube. I'd be interested to hear. But to go up to the summit, we're going to make a left and head up to this pile of rocks. There's actually a USGS marker, which is not at the top of this rock. It's kind of on the north side, if you want to find that. But we're going to climb up here. We're going to get these panoramic viewpoints south into the Santa Rosas over there, San Jacinto Wilderness, and then right past that you can see San Gorgonio, which is kind of snow-capped up here, and then the Coachella Valley. So very cool place to check out the viewpoints here in Palm Springs. So that's it. That's the whole enchilada. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a guy or a lady doing yoga up there. I didn't even see them. I must need more coffee at this point. But anyway, once you get to the top, you just go back down the way you came. And that's the hike. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a link to the full guide right underneath the video. If you are watching on YouTube, as always, if you could do me a big solid and click that little thumbs up button, that helps other people find this video, hopefully do the hike safely, and have a good time out here. If you have not done this hike, I highly recommend giving it a try. It's a pretty cool one. Murray Hill. All right. See you guys.